Welcome back. It is the Flow Friday Sports Show on Flow FM, and we're getting the show underway tonight by speaking all about the Ouyen United Kangas Netball Club, but there's no Caitlin Vine. She's dumped us for Europe, and instead taking over the reins, at least for the next few weeks, is the Prez, Julia Woodall. Julia, it's great to have you on the line. How are you?
Good, thank you. Very jealous of Caitlin at the moment, but yeah, good to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, well, aren't we all jealous? I mean, here we are sat in boring old wintry Australia while Caitlin's soaking up the European sun. Life just isn't fair sometimes, Julia. I'm sure Caitlin's been given a bit of her, fair share of flack for sort of, I'm not going to say, just departing on a whim. She's obviously planned it a fair bit in advance, but people I'm sure would have looked upon her departure with a fair bit of envy.
Yeah, no, I told her that she had to make room in a suitcase for me so I could come with her, but no luck. I don't think I get through border security. So, she'll get lots of Snapchats so we can live vicariously through her.
She'll get some Mediterranean magic one way or the other, that's for sure. Hopefully she misses netball because she's not going to hear or see too much about netball when she's in Greece and Italy. Let's talk all about Ouyen United and a big weekend that we're coming off in Sunraysia Netball. So let our listeners know how the respective teams got on against Mildura.
Yeah, so we had a good crack against Mildura. I don't think we were as successful as we'd hoped we'd be, but the A grade was an absolutely thrilling game. We had a draw, so it was goal for goal in the last quarter, in the last dying minutes, and the timer wasn't on our side, unfortunately. It had happened a couple of times this year already, but it was a really awesome game to watch with brilliant play from both teams and a really refined A grade side from our perspective coming into the final series. So hopefully we can keep going.
And you're obviously an integral part of the B grade side, as has Caitlin been so far throughout 2023. Tell us how the Bees got on and the other sides as well in what was obviously a competitive outing for most of those sides against what's a very imposing and dominant team in Mildura this year.
Yeah, our B grade side, we were up in the first quarter and even in the second, so we thought we were in for a chance, that they just got over the top at the end. But it was the best game that we've played all year, as our coach Cara tells us. So hopefully that will set us up for the last 4 games and get us into the top 4 for the finals. But we're primed, and I think we've got lots, and we know what we have to work on. So lots of things to look forward to. And I reckon the C grade had a tough loss, and so did the C Reds, but I think they drowned their sorrows in the ladies' days tent later on.
There we go. Well, that's all you can do sometimes. We'll take in some of the other results from round 13, Julia, and one of the other games that everyone would have been concentrating on was South Mildura v Merbein. How did this game play out? A
very nail-biting game by the looks. It was 40-39 Merbein's way, so Merbein just got over the top in the end. So that would have been a really nail-biting game to watch. It's similar to ours, I'm sure, but Merbein would have been awesome. Really happy with the win there.
Now, Irimple, they went in as favourites against Robinvale Euston. What was the final score there?
50-43 Irimple's way, so another really close game under 10 goals. So Irimple has been in fine form. They've got a really young team this year, and they're really strong as well. So they've done really well to get over Robinvale. And
the poor old mob of Redcliffs had the tough assignment this week of taking on Wentworth. What was the final score there?
Wentworth with 84 goals against Redcliffe 27. That would have been really tough for them to keep them under the 60-goal margin that I think everyone's trying to keep them underneath. But the 84 is an absolutely amazing goal shooting effort from their goal shooters. So kudos to Wentworth.
All right, well, we'll take a look at round 14, Julia, in the A grade, and unfortunately no game for the Ouyen United girls. So firstly, before we look at the other games, tell us how the players across all teams in the senior ranks are going to be spending their Saturday afternoon. I assume they'll be home staying warm.
Yeah, I think there's a few of us who are keen for a quiet weekend. There's a few going up to Mildura for a few cocktails, I think, so they can enjoy that, but I'm going to have a quiet weekend and catch up on a bit of gardening, I think, which is a bit boring, but yeah, that's my to-do list.
It's probably one of those ones, isn't it, Julia, where you could take one of two very different approaches. You could either sort of look at how things are going in the A grade and say to yourself, well, look at the recent results we've gotten, all pretty decent aside from last week where we weren't expected to win. So we're pretty happy with the state of affairs right now. We could, put some of the girls through a bit of a Saturday boot camp and make it seem as though, we're just going to slog everyone and keep everyone in line. But really, you'd sort of look at the fact that you might be missing a few and, the weather's not ideal and maybe it's just better for morale overall that everyone just does their own thing this weekend and enjoys the game off.
Yeah, I think that's been the recipe for this week. We've sort of battling a few colds and runny noses and whatnot as well. So yeah, it's just a good weekend to recover and rest up and get ready for South Mildura next week.
Great stuff. All right, well, let's look at some of the other games this weekend. And we've got two blockbusters, really. I'm pretty excited about learning about some of these results next week. So one of the two games that we can really look forward to, Mildura v South Mildura, the derby. Fireworks, you'd assume that most people won't be tipping South Mildura, but it's a derby and form goes out the window sometimes in these kinds of games, especially out in the bush, Julia.
Yeah, absolutely. I think South Mildura will give them a good run for their money, but I reckon Mildura might get the win in the end.
Imperials will have to do a hell of a lot to contain Wentworth. Are we really sort of setting that benchmark now, though, Julia, whereby, every passing week it's a case of, let's just make sure they don't outscore by 50? I mean, is there any way to sort of look a little bit beyond that and hopefully be a little bit more ambitious, particularly some of these teams that we know in Sunraysia who can turn it on, on the occasional week, such as Imperials?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think Wentworth is undefeatable. I think they can... I think the other teams can definitely out muscle them in their own areas of strength. So I'm sure Imperials will give them a good run for their money, but Wentworth is an absolute powerhouse this year, and rightfully so. They've got some absolutely brilliant players. So hopefully that it's a good game to watch. But I think Wentworth will get the win in the end.
Robinvale Euston will be the outsiders against Merbein, but probably a game they'll chalk off and think, well, we can definitely win it.
Yeah, absolutely, especially coming off a win from South Mildura. So that one will probably be, I reckon that one will be the match of the round to see who comes out on top. I'm going to tip Merbein following their win last week. So hopefully they get the win.
Rimple should get the job done against Red Cliffs pending any sort of disaster, you'd think as well, Julia?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, they're an absolutely brilliant team. I used to teach some of them back in the day, so hopefully they get the win over Red Cliffs.
There we have it. Sensational stuff. Well, before we let you go, you're a new voice on the airwaves, and we'll certainly look forward to having you again over the next few weeks. But since we've got you for the first time this week, tell us a little bit more about the history of your presidency and how long you've been involved at Ouyen United.
This is my first year as the president. I've been part of the executive committee since I moved home. I've finished uni and came home, and we Caitlin and I and a couple more of our friends have been on the executive committee since 2020. So it's been a good opportunity to learn, and I've definitely had to broaden my knowledge again this year, taking on the presidency. But it's been really rewarding so far, and hopefully we can get a few finals games and make it a successful season. But I think it has been successful in terms of our community spirit and our inclusivity and everything like that. So that's been my goal for the year.
Well, Julia, I'm sorry to do it, but before we let you go, we're going to sort of throw people under the bus here a little bit. So I've received word for word from Caitlin Vine. And just for a bit of background context too, Caitlin often introduces me to some Mallee lingo here and there. So she said to me that Julia Woodall is the president. She's mad as a cut snake. You'll love her. So let's lift the lid here. Time to get that professional president sort of speak right out of here and tell us how far back does the banter stretch with Caitlin?
Well, I don't know. We can talk with a mouthful of marbles, Kate and I. I'm going to be a maid of honour in her wedding next year, so that's probably reveals a little bit of our history. Went to school together, and I could probably say the same about her. She's probably a bit more mad than me, though.
There we have it. Well, I'd love to be a fly on the wall at that wedding when you make that speech. It'll be great stuff. Julia, we'll speak to you next week. Julia Woodall, the president from the Ouyen United Netball Club. But really appreciate your time. And like I say, enjoy the week off. We'll speak to you next week.
Cheers. Thanks very much.